3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
It's crazy how we ended up here at this Mennonite place because I didn't know anything. I had never even heard of a Mennonite, didn't know what it was. And I had went to my pastor and had a talk with him, and he said, well, why, what do you want to do? And, you know, and I said, well, he said, what can you teach on? I said, biblical finances. He said, okay. He said, you just can't do it here at the church. He said, you have to go find a place outside of the church and you can do it. So we decided on Thursday nights. Bible study was on Wednesday, so we picked a Thursday night to do the biblical finances class. And 75 people were coming out. After the end of the first week, I said, man, this is hard, you know, having to prepare every week to minister to people. By the third week, I was crying in tears because I said, Lord, I don't ever want to stop teaching your people. By the fifth week, I got the call to be a pastor permanently. I mean, I had been running the whole time. I was, you know, Jonah, having a Jonah experience, and I knew I had been running. And by the fifth week, I was like, Lord, I give up. I don't want to run anymore. I was in a David and Nicole Binion concert when I received the call, and clear as day, I knew that I was called a pastor after that. And we ended up here in this building, and man, I tell you, we were going on Thursday nights. We went 6 weeks, and then we did a couple of Thursdays after that. And I'll never forget, First Lady said, you know, if you're gonna have a real church and be a real pastor, you got to switch your Bible studies up, and you got to find out, because these people, a lot of them went to other people's churches. She said, you got to switch it up. And I listened to that woman, and I'm telling y'all, we switched that thing up to Wednesday nights. We went from 75 people down to 5 people. And the 5 people they were riding with us to come to church. We went down to 0 people. And I'm telling you, I never wavered though. Once I got the call, I never wavered. You know, for some of you out there, you can't build on doubt. I'll say that again. It's hard to build on doubt. When I wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to obey God the way that He was calling me, there was always doubt there. So there was nothing to build on. It's like building on sand when you have doubt. But the moment that I made up my mind, God, whatever you say, I'll do it. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. When the doubt went away, we had 5 people, and I promise y'all, I was ministering just as hard to those 5 as now as I minister to thousands, because my heart was in it. I was all in. And I thank God for this Mennonite location, because without this, I mean, there wouldn't be 3 campuses. You know, there wouldn't. Wilder came months after. We started, I want to say, in maybe March or April that year. If I'm correct, I guess it would be 2009. And then in the fall, we ended up going over to Wilder. But we had our first anniversary here. We had no musicians. Listen to this. No musicians, no music. And we had 100 people join the first year off of me doing nothing but teaching the Bible. You know that's got to be God. Because you know y'all love some music. And so the fact that we had all of that happening here in this sanctuary is nothing but the hand of the Lord. I mean, our singing was a cappella. It was tracks, if we sung at all. And God still grew it, and had some amazing times and memories here. I had 2 witches come to one of my Bible studies here, real witches, like witch with a W, like 2 of them. I remember teaching a Bible study here, and this girl brought her 2 of her aunts to a Bible study, and they came up to me after service, and they were critiquing every single thing I said. And all of a sudden I got myself together and I looked them in the eyes, and the Lord says, they're witches. I said, what? I had never had an encounter, a live encounter with witches before. You know, you read these books and these stories. I had been to Africa, you know, witch doctors, but I had never met two witches in America before. But you know, I got rid of the witches and we kept growing. I remember so many guys came through here that used to get high all the time, stop smoking weed. I got 1,000 testimonies and stories that happened just in this location. Single mothers coming and raising their kids those 5 years in this, coming here and just watching them grow and raise their kids. Just countless memories of how good God has been in allowing this church to just be a part of it and being a blessing to us, man. You know, we had our first anniversary in their fellowship hall. I'll never forget this. Let me tell y'all this real quick. I'll never forget meeting with the pastor at that time. And he said, they had about 75 members. And I don't know how I'm supposed to be telling their business, but I mean, this just been many years ago. But they had about 75 members, and he said, we bring in $18,000 a month. And I was like, OMG, $18,000 a month. I was like, one day, God, I pray that, the ministry that you're calling me to will be able to get to that point where we can have a building and we can have people obey God and we got $18,000 a month come in. And now, multiple buildings later, and it costs us millions of dollars a year to run the ministry that we run. We have over 47 organizations that we support. It costs us millions. And I have to trust God every single week, every single month to allow us to operate ministry at the level at which we operate. But it all started here with 5 people, with us bringing people to church, and with people just sitting, listening to the flat-footed teaching word of God. And I just want to say I'm grateful. And as we're celebrating 15 years, I pray that you don't despise small beginnings. And I pray that whatever God has called you to do, you'll yield to it, you'll obey. And if you can do the small, one day you'll see the big.
Hello, SSM family. We're the Garnetts, and we're sitting here with you today reminiscing over the 15 years that we've been a part of Speaking Spirit Ministries.
And there's just been so much to reflect back on, but the main thing for me is when I first joined the ministry, I was invited to a Bible study, and I got there and I just knew that Apostle was my man of God. I didn't know that I was looking for a pastor. I was looking for a Bible study. But when I got there, I just knew that this is where I was supposed to be. This is where I belonged, at Speaking Spirit Ministries.
Yes, it has been, it's like I've known church before, but I've never known church like Speaking Spirit Ministries. I've sat under pastors before, but I've never sat under pastors like Apostle Fred and Pastor Inga Wyatt. Over the 15 years, I think the impact, I'm not going to say the impact, I'm going to say the decision that we made to join the ministry. After that, everything else fell into place. We have been seeing growth in the ministry, but one thing that we've seen more than anything else is the love that our pastors have for the ministry and for those people that God has put in his path. It is amazing to me how you can open up your heart for so many people. We've been a part of it, like I've said, for 15 years. We've seen some come and some go, but the love of our pastors has never changed.
God makes a man. He puts him in the garden. And this man is over everything. He's the prototype for what a man was supposed to be before he fell.
My name is Neil Coleman. I came to Speaking Spirit in 2010, and Pastor married me in 2011. And I just can remember at that time, I was going through some things with the court, and I eventually had to go to jail. And Pastor came in and visited me. He was more uncomfortable than I was, and one thing that I learned from that situation was not to put other people in uncomfortable situations. So Pastor kind of walked that journey with me. He was sending me books the whole time. I really got into the Word at that time, and I developed a great relationship with Jesus. But Pastor held my hand throughout that whole journey. And I would like to say thank you, Pastor, for everything you've done. How you supported my family and just been there guiding me every step of the way. Love you, sir, and thank you.
This is unbelievable. I mean, we're right here about to celebrate 15 years in ministry. I mean, who would ever thought it? I mean, it's gone by so fast.
It has.
It's here.
It
Like we're literally months away from 15 years of ministry. I mean, what are your thoughts? Did you ever think that, this is where we would be 15 years from now when we started?
I had no idea that we'd be here in 15 years. No, sir. Starting at that Mennonite church, just watching you just follow the voice of God, because literally all you had was a word from God. There were no people. It was me and you and a word from God. And I literally, for me, it was like watching you step out into nothing where God had something prepared.
Yeah.
And just watching you trust God when there were no people, when there were no deacons, when there were no elders, there were no ministers. It was just you and God. And just watching you even minister that first sermon on the blessing, like that was the beginning of it all. The 6-week financial series on the blessing, I'm like, wow. And then when you came to me and said, this is hard, but I think God is calling me to do this. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I was scared. I didn't know what to expect. I just know that I knew you had heard from the Lord, and the Lord spoke to me in my separate time to prepare me to walk through this with you. And now 15 years later, thousands of partners, TV broadcasts, 3 campuses, getting ready to launch a 4th campus, just watching how you have walked out a portion of your purpose and fulfillment in God. That has done major things just in my personal life, just watching you. Sometimes it's hard to step out of something and get a whole understanding of what's really happening. But I try to do that often. So I'm like, you know what? I'm part of something so much bigger than I can grasp with my natural mind. But I am so glad that I got to be a part of it. I got to be a supporter, a faithful partner of this ministry. It's just been amazing. And I think what blows me away the most is that when I think we get to rest, you're like, no, God is getting ready to do something else.
I think I'll rest when I leave. But when do you feel like When do you feel like you really yielded to saying, okay, like, because you've helped the entire way, even when you were probably fearful, or I don't know if that's the right word. Do you feel like, I mean, I guess that, there was a sense of timidness when I told you that I was called. Would you call it? I know Bible, so I know that He hadn't given us the spirit of fear. But let's be honest, there was definitely some reservations there.
Well, I think those reservations was not so much like what God can do, but just being a newer wife, being in a newer marriage, us buying a new home. It was just a lot. There were a lot of things taking place in our lives. Me starting a new business and never owning that business. It was just so many unknowns. So I think when you say the fear or the timidity, it's just the unknown and not probably being where I needed to be in my faith walk. Because at that time, I mean, God was really, really allowing me to walk through some things to help develop me in my own personal relationship with Him and in my faith walk. And so I think, initially it's like, I didn't have any like preconceived notions about what it was to be a pastor's wife or anything like that. But just from a woman's standpoint, thinking about provision, things like that, and just not having a full understanding of that. Wherever God is going to send me, whatever God is going to call us to do, He's going to provide. And that's where faith comes in.
Yeah, our oldest boy, he always says that that he respects or appreciates the fact that his dad knows what he's supposed to be doing in life. And I would tell anybody that greatness is on the other side of hearing the voice of God and obeying it. Oftentimes we hear, we don't always obey. Sometimes we know what we should do. We don't always want to yield to what we're hearing or what we feel like what it is we're supposed to be doing. And excuse me, I've never wanted to, I've only wanted to obey the voice of God since He's rescued me and saved me, I've always wanted to know more about the God that rescued me, and so I've been on this journey, and it's a journey. It definitely has been a journey. I was just telling the staff today that I'm looking at, some of my daughters that were here in this ministry, some of the girls that babysitted their youngest son. One of them is now married.
Yes.
One of them is now getting ready to graduate from college. And I'm like, my God, where does the time go? But here we are, 15 years in the making, And it's, I was just thinking about it. I was telling the staff today that this is, for somebody that's very driven like myself, sometimes you don't get to stop to take breaks often, and you balance me out with that, trying to celebrate, learning to celebrate and create memories and all of that good stuff. But coming up on this 15th, I'm the happiest I've been, honestly. I'm really learning to mature and enjoy life. You know what I mean? And it's been a good run. It's been a good run, and we're just beginning. I don't want to say a run like we're coming to an end.
Absolutely.
But the race is just beginning, And I'm just stepping into, although I've been doing it for 15 years, I know I'm just beginning. I know God is doing something new, brand new all over in me, and I love it. That I'm glad that we're doing it together. I honestly, I can't imagine it any other way. Like, I can't imagine even trying to do this without you. It's been spectacular. It
really has. And when you were just saying, like, we're just beginning, and that's the one thing, like, being by your side in ministry, it keeps me on my toes. It's like, oh my God, what's next? Wow, what can I say? 15 years we're celebrating, and it is absolutely amazing. It just seems like yesterday, like 15 years. We have had so many things to happen, but if I look back, just thinking about where we started and just God's hand just always being on it. But I will say this, God had to prepare me first. He literally had to let me know what time it was, because the first thing I was thinking about is how we gonna eat, how we gonna live. Like, you know, we're running multi-million-dollar companies, and it's like time to shut all that down and obey God. And so I can just remember driving down Interstate 295, and I heard the Holy Spirit say clear as day, I have need of him. And so I just, I dug in, I helped where I could, but I wanted to make sure things were good at home. And so while he was building, I can remember when we first got started over there at First Mennonite, it was like 4 or 5 of us and my mom coming to church. No music, no praise and worship, no musician, nobody, no intercessory prayer team, none of that. It was just us and a word from God. And I'm telling you, I'm a testament that wherever God guides you, whatever he tells you to do, there will always be provision, because we never, ever missed a beat. Even closing down that company that was making us hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's where we made our first $1 million. The Lord still provided. And so as I look back, I just thank God for his faithfulness, but I really thank him for preparing me, because we're in this together. We're a team. And so the Lord knows his children. He knows his special children like me who need to be talked to and prepared. And I need to kind of have a little bit of an understanding. And he gave me that with that one word, I have need of him. And so I'm never going to try to compete with God for the man of God. Not ever. Whenever God says I'm in need of him, that was all I needed to hear. So fast forward, like, you know, we were just at First Mennonite, and then next thing you know, we're at Wilder Middle School, and we got like 15 people, like in 400 seats. I'm like, oh my God, this is interesting. I remember the first service, y'all. We had a school back to school giveaway, because we started right around back to school. There were 250 plus people at that service, and the next week it was like 10 people. But guess what? We had heard from God, and we didn't waver. And I can remember Apostle teaching some dynamic services in that school, and I can just remember how he preached like there were thousands sitting in the seats. Like, he didn't waver because he didn't yet see the manifestation of what God had promised. And so that in itself, seeing him just step out and obey God and walk away from what we would call provision or lots of money, he walked into destiny, and I walked, and I thank God I had enough faith to walk with him. And so after that, we got in that school, and God's word we just began to see it manifest. We began to see people coming. We began to have music. Everything that you see today, it was a process. It was really a process. Even leaving that school, we were tired when we left the school and went into our first location, but it was still a process. And so one of the first things I did in the ministry was I was the youth ministry. I was the only teacher in Wilder Middle School for the first 4 months, and I had a blast with those kids. But then my husband realized, like, my wife, she need a word. And so as we started to grow, we started to get other people to help in the youth ministry. But I was the youth ministry, y'all. Every Sunday, every Wednesday, I taught youth church. I taught the little people. Our pastor taught the big people. Yeah, we were a tag team. We were rocking. And so we went through that, and we did all of that. And then one day I remember I was laying in my guest room, and I was praying, because that's why I use this like my prayer closet. And I was like, wow, we need a women's ministry, because I was active in my last church in the women's ministry. So I was like, we really need a women's ministry. And I began to pray, and I was like, well, women's ministry, like, what would I call it? Like, And I think at the time we had a little motto, we're a ministry of relationship. And I thought about that and I said, we're women after a relationship. And that's how War was birthed, in my prayer closet, in my guest room, asking the Lord, what would you have me to call it? And so hence there was War, Women After Relationship. That is our women's ministry here at Speaking Spirit Ministries. And I absolutely love War and I absolutely love women. So that was like my first birthing in the ministry was War. And then a few years later when I was in the school, I got pregnant. Here comes Gabe. So that's my second thing I birthed while in ministry was I actually became a mom. And so that really changed the trajectory of how I approach ministry, how I did things at home. And I think for the first time, not just becoming a spiritual mother, but a natural mom, I realized that I couldn't do it alone. One thing I learned, serving in ministry along Apostle, I could not have done it without all of the hands and prayers of the partners and the members of Speaking Spirit Ministries, even some that have come and gone. I could not have done it without any of you. So for that, I am forever grateful for those of you that held up my arms and helped me and even helped me through becoming a new mom. Like, I could just go on and on, but I just want to let you guys know that you're sitting in what I would say, absolutely 100%, you're sitting in faith. We started with absolutely 0 members. We started with absolutely no church vans, no musicians, nothing but a word from God. And now we are multiple campuses, thousands of members, and our apostle is actually being moved into his next phase of ministry, which is the apostleship. And so 15 down and many more to go. And we could not have done it without our partners of Speaking Spirit Ministry. So guess what? Apostle Wyatt, watching you walk in faith the way you've walked, watching how you've obeyed God no matter the cost, it's done wonders for my faith, for my walk with God. So thank you for obeying the call. And thank you to all of you at Speaking Spirit Ministries, those of you that have come and gone who have helped to make this 15-year anniversary possible. I absolutely love each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. And let's go get it for Jesus.
When did I find out I had cancer? Man, I wanted a pickup truck. I had a pickup truck. Let me tell y'all this very quickly. I had a pickup truck, old pickup truck. I think it was an 89. Man, I love that pickup truck. That thing had the best brakes ever. I could roll over just sidewalks with it and didn't care what I did with it. But it had, this sounds crazy, but the thing had the best brakes on a vehicle I've ever had. I mean, I could just go anywhere and just hit the brakes fast as I wanted to go in a pickup truck, an 89 pickup truck. I loaned my truck to Adrian. Adrian's still a member of this ministry to this day. I loaned my pickup truck to Adrian. He left the parking brake on driving down the highway. and my brakes never, I got brand new brakes and they never worked ever the same again. The truck was, Adrian burnt my truck up. Long story short, I said, okay, God, I'm going to get another truck. I get a Toyota Tundra, and I wanted a Tundra. I'd seen them. I was like, oh, I like those pickup trucks. I get me a Toyota Tundra, and I can't even drive the pickup truck. Like, I'm talking about just every time I drive the pickup truck, my body was reacting in a irregular way. I go to the doctor. The doctor say, oh, you just have prostatitis. Your prostate is inflamed. So I say, okay. He says it's probably from the bumping in the pickup truck. Okay, whatever. Gives you some medicine, but I'm like, okay, I can't even drive this pickup truck. Every time I drive it, the bumps is causing the issues in my body. So I'm thinking it's nothing. The doctor tells me, because you get prostatitis so often, it's most likely you'll never have cancer. Okay, great. Long story short, I'm in the doctor's office getting the checkup, and he says, do you want to get some kind of checkup, whatever kind? I say, yeah, go ahead and do it. Go ahead. Let's get everything done. I want to live. I want to live as long as the Lord will let me live. Go ahead and get the checkup done. We get the checkup done. Normally, you forget about the checkups because they call you and tell you nothing's wrong. This time they call and they said, we need you to come into the office. Come into the office? For what? Like, don't you normally just tell us over the phone, like, everything's good and you go back home? Come into the office? Is it really, like, why would I have to come into the office? I come into the office. I don't even remember if I was by myself or if my wife was with me. And he says, we've found something that, on your prostate. And I didn't think anything of it. And they did whatever they had to do. And long story short, it came back as prostate cancer. And I'll be honest with y'all, and I tell all my men this. I don't care what kind of a warrior you are. You don't want to hear that or fight that by yourself. I'm talking about you can slay giants and demons. I blacked out. I did. We would go into the appointments afterwards after I got diagnosed with the cancer. And I would start out hearing the doctor, and the more he talked, I would black out. I don't know why, but I would just lose, almost like you just lose a state of consciousness while you're conscious. He would talk, and I stopped hearing what he was saying. And if that woman of God wasn't with me, if my wife wasn't with me, I'll be honest with y'all, I don't know what I would have done. I just don't know. I don't. I don't even want to think about what I would have done. And I never told my congregation. And I preached a whole year with the cancer, full blown in my body. And I just preached a whole year until I could get scheduled to deal with the cancer and get it all removed. And I didn't want to alarm my congregation. I wasn't trying to be a hero. People say, why didn't you tell people? I wasn't trying to be a hero. I didn't want people worrying about me. I'm the one that's supposed to be taking care of people. I'm the one that's used to being in the position of strength. I don't know. I think a lot of men struggle with being vulnerable, admitting that sometimes we are weak, admitting that sometimes we don't know what to do, or we don't have it all together. And I'll be honest with you, that probably was one of my most vulnerable times in my life, because especially after I had the surgery, I couldn't do anything without the help of somebody else. And I had to learn that strength is not in muscles, or it's not in the masculine. I grew up in an era where masculinity, and I had to realize that wasn't really manhood. And so that part of my life definitely was one of the most trying. But I'll say this to everybody out there: God is faithful. God is faithful. If you trust him, he'll come through. God is faithful. He always comes through. And I don't know what you may be dealing with, and we're sitting here having this conversation about my journey and coming up on this 15th anniversary, just reflecting. We've just been reflecting. I've been hanging out with the guys in the media department, and we're just reflecting. And there'll come a day where if you live long enough, you'll reflect on everything. There'll come a day where you'll reflect to your childhood, you'll reflect to your 20s, you'll reflect to your 30s, and if God lets you live long enough, you'll reflect to your 50s, 60s, and 70s. But I think it's the low seasons and the valleys that you never forget. You remember the highs, but the highs don't always stay up here. You have life, it'll throw you those curveballs. And I think it's when you go through the valleys, you have so much more respect for life, for loved ones. You realize that life is so fragile when you go through what I went through. And I'm encouraging all of you, as we're approaching this anniversary, to love strong. If you got 5 days left, make it the best 5 days ever. If you got 7 years left, make it the best 7 years. But love strong every day of your life. Tell people you love them. Nothing's that serious. Make up with people, forgive people. The only thing I want to be known for, I tell my sons this, the only thing I want to be known for is being a man of God. I want to be an earthly example of what a man of God should look like. I want my children to know that when I do depart and I leave, that my father was a man of God and I should also follow in those footsteps. I think that's the most important thing. I want my congregation to know that I'm a man of God, because there's so many fakes and phonies out here that people don't always know when they have an authentic product. And not that I'm stamping myself as that, but I'm just saying my personal walk, my goal is to be a man of God, if that makes sense. I'm not saying, be like me. I'm saying every man and every woman should be a woman of God. But what I'm saying is that's my personal goal, is to be a man of God. And I just want people to see me as such. So I love you guys, and we're celebrating 15. Cheers to my water that's in my cup, and cheers to all of you. Let's go strong and let's celebrate 15 more. God bless you.
What's going on, Speaking Spirits? It's Principal Gordon here at Glen Lee. Thank you for all that you all do. We love and appreciate your volunteers. Thank you for being an active part of our community. We celebrate you. You guys are the best. Thank you.
We are here with Mrs. Fields.
Hello, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here this evening at Verina Elementary, and what a bigger blessing than to be able to have the church, Speaking Spirit Ministries, here blessing our students, our faculty, the building, and just showing love to the community.
Thank you so much to Speaking Spirit for coming out today and providing ice cream for our families. This is a huge turnout, and this has been one of the best things that they've enjoyed. So we are so grateful and appreciate it, and you guys are awesome. Thank you.
This is Principal Davis from J.H. Blackwell Elementary, and I just want to say thank you so much to Pastor Wyatt and Speaking Spirits Ministries. We are loving the fact that you were able to join us for our annual open house bash, and we look forward to future partnerships with you. Thank you so much.
I love being able to see our community come together. That's always been important. This is one of our National Night Out locations that we initially started at, and then we went to a new location because the turnout was so big at this location that we had to find a bigger location. So I'm so godly excited about just the transition of growth and seeing things manifest. And so we had the largest national night out on record recently at Dory Park. Over 7,000 people at National Night Out. It's the largest on record ever in our state. And man, I can't thank God enough just for the people that put it together, but also just for being able to give back and serve our community.
Good morning. Thank you so much for these beautiful gifts for our family.
Man, community is everything at the end of the day. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing life without being a part of this community that I live in. I care about the youth, especially the youth. I care about the kids. Kids should have a chance to grow up and be successful in life, to do right, to have an opportunity to get off the streets or just to grow up. Yeah, I grew up in the country, but everybody deserves a chance at their best life possible. And we give back to the community, 48 organizations now that we sponsor, that we give to. We've given millions of dollars back to our community here in the Richmond area. Now we're abroad. We're helping medical students in Africa. We have 8 kids, I think it's either 6 or 8 kids that we've adopted overseas in other countries. But most of our work is done right here in our local Richmond and surrounding areas, and that's constantly expanding. And to be able to help 18,000 kids, I'll say that again, we give enough money to support 18,000 kids in our schools that we support every single year. And that's something to be godly proud of. And I'll never let anybody, I don't care what people say about me. I know the work that I'm doing. I know what God has called me to do. But I won't let anybody tear down the community. I won't let anybody tear down what we're trying to build in our community and tear down our youth and tear down the people that are doing great things in our community. I'm not the only one or the only church that's doing something, but we are doing it, and we're doing it big. And I'm just proud, man. I've always wanted to give back. And at the end of the day, I always say you measure success by being in the will of God. That's the spiritual definition of success. But in the natural, you measure success by your ability to serve and how much can you really give back. I mean, not financially, but also just in your labor. And we've been able to do that. I'm doing that. My church is doing that. And man, it means the world to me. I can't wait for God to keep opening doors in this community, for us to keep getting the gospel of Jesus Christ in every home in our city. That's what's important to me, and that's what we're doing, and that's what we've been doing for the last couple of years, and I want to continue doing it on a great scale. So just thank you to everybody that allows us to be great in this city and allows us to do the things that we do. And if one family comes to know Jesus because of what we're doing, man, we're doing it. And we've had thousands. But if it's one a day, or 1 an hour, I'm excited about what God has done. I'm excited about what he's doing. And I'm glad you all are a part of the journey. Celebrating 15, Speaking Spirit Ministries. oh man, this sanctuary didn't look like this when we got it. We walked into this building. I saw the building 2 years prior, and I said, oh man, I don't like that building. But can I be honest with y'all? We didn't have the money. So you know how when you see something you like and you have to lie to yourself and tell yourself you don't like it, but the truth is you love it? It's like you go look at a Bentley and you're like, oh, it ain't all that. But the truth is, if you had the money, you would buy it today. We saw the building, and I was like, oh, no, that ain't it. But we didn't have the money. 2 years later, the Lord said, believe me. He said, believe me. And 2 years later, I went back in this same sanctuary, and I saw the vision. And he started speaking to me. He says, this is what you're going to do. And I believed him. Long story short, we ended up getting the building. We went into 2 services overnight. The first day we moved in, people were standing on the wall, got forced into 2 services. And you can look at how we've transformed this building. You can just see some of the pictures of how we've transformed this building. Same thing with the theater. We went in there. I took 12 or 20 leaders over there. I walked them through the building. The building had mold in it. It was caving in. And we came back in the foyer. And I said, do y'all see the vision? And all of them turned their head the other way. And we couldn't even look me in the face and say, honestly, yes. They said yes, but they turned their heads so they wouldn't lie to their pastor to his face. And I knew I'd heard from the Lord again. And I moved on forward, and now that's one of the prettiest buildings in our city. And people love that theater. They love to come to it. And then we went over to Glen Island, and now we're getting ready to go over to East End. And I wouldn't have it any other way. We're moving for Jesus. We're moving for Jesus. But you're watching these transformations of these, not just the buildings, but also the people. It's just a mark of the apostolic assignment on my life. And I'm excited about it, man. We're transforming communities and homes, and we're taking our cities, and it's just the beginning.
As you go into year 16, Lord have mercy, I'm feeling this time. Expect personal growth, inner strength, as you journey towards self-discovery. You have experienced some good days and have done some good works, but the best is yet to come.
Y'all look so good, because we're not that, we come as you are, we dress up, decently when we come to church, but we're coming sneakers and sweats and jeans, but everybody here looks so amazing tonight. Amen. And I was listening to Bishop Kelly, and he said something, and he said, the best gift that you guys can give us is living a maximized life for God.
I went and talked to the supervisor, the Henrico County supervisor, where Speaking Spirit resides, and that is Dr. Roscoe Cooper. And I asked him for a favor. That favor is in my life. And that is to name the street Apostle Pastor White.
Did y'all have a good time? And for all of my family tonight, I said that I love you. The best is yet to come. And let's go another 15 and let's see what we can